My name is Kelly Miller. I own a trauma-informed movement studio here in Livingston, and I am also the senior program manager for a national nonprofit called The Phoenix. I wear several hats in Livingston, having it be a small community. I'm very fortunate to be able to make an impact through several different organizations. The first thing that I do that's the nearest and dearest to my heart is for the last 2 years, I have owned and operated the Movement Collaborative. We are a movement studio and a space for healing. We hold many movement classes throughout the week, and then we also facilitate support groups. The Cancer Alliance support group and the postpartum support group. We have many free classes throughout the week, and we also have a grant, thanks to Community Closet, that we don't ever have to turn anyone down for the inability to pay. Our mission is that we believe that everyone should have access to movement in an accessible and inclusive way, and have a community where they feel like they can exercise and move their bodies and heal in different formats, safe from judgment or any barriers. We are a sober, active community that offers recreational and community programs to people in recovery, people who are sober, sober curious, and their allies. We do everything from CrossFit to yoga to axe throwing, and we really believe in harnessing a healing community of like-minded individuals who are seeking authentic connection, and really breaking the stigma of what it means to be in recovery. I manage programs here in Livingston. We are very volunteer oriented. We really rely on volunteers to keep our programs going. And then I manage programs throughout the rest of the state of Montana and Idaho. I am the weekend advocate for ASPEN, which stands for Abuse Support Prevention Education Network. We serve survivors and victims of domestic violence, human trafficking, sexual assault, and stalking. That's a very near and dear to my heart in the fact that it was the first job that I applied for when I moved to Livingston in 2015, and I've been doing it ever since. So I'm very grateful that I can still support that mission just in a lesser capacity and on the weekends. I also provide trauma trainings and mindfulness trainings to a wide variety of professionals in the community. Being here in Livingston, we have a lot of people that are experiencing diversity, are experiencing trauma in one way or another, and ever since I kind of moved here, it became really relevant, very apparent to me that it was important for everyone to kind of understand the effects of trauma, not only on themselves, but also on, the lady at the grocery store who's checking them out, a second grader at the elementary school. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to be surrounded in the work that I do around mental health, both with movement and with mindfulness. I am an Army veteran. I was in the Montana Army National Guard for 13 years. I did a deployment to Iraq in 2010, and when I came back, I was pretty sure of myself that I had no PTSD, that I came back completely fine, even though a lot of my peers who came over with me came back and had struggled with their mental health. Unfortunately, because of that, some of them are no longer here today. And it wasn't until I stopped drinking 2 years ago that I realized that I actually had definitely had been experiencing PTSD. I just had been numbing it. And so that had led me into my sobriety, had led me into the position that I'm in now with the Phoenix, the Sober Active Community nonprofit. And now I really believe in a healing culture that isn't surrounded around alcohol, isn't surrounded around, breweries or brew fests, and being able to help people find a community and find connection with each other in ways that maybe aren't supported by having an intoxicated mind. During my sobriety journey, I hadn't reached out in the entire time that I was enlisted or that I had left the Guard. I didn't reach out to the VA. I didn't look for mental health support. I didn't have a hard time sleeping, I didn't think. And it actually had been because of my severe alcohol use that I was actually able to, what I thought was coping. And in fact, it really wasn't. And so after I had stopped drinking, that's when the night terrors started. That's when the anxiety started. That's when the post-traumatic stress effects started, and I realized that I actually needed help. So my sobriety journey really was a awakening moment that I needed to reach out for help, that I needed to reach out to the VA to see if I could get services. And now I still, after that short battle of beginning my sobriety journey and reaching out to the VA, now I can sleep, and now I don't have nightmares, and now I don't have as many, I'm not as triggered as much, and it's because of the help that I reached out for after finding my sobriety. If I could go back in time and give myself one piece of advice, it would be to not worry as much about what other people thought. Most of my decision making up until probably 2 years ago had been based off of what I thought other people's reactions would be to my decisions. Literally since I can remember, since grade school, I was very much making life decisions and my choices, day-to-day choices, on what I thought other people thought about the choices that I was making. Anywhere from what I was wearing to the words that were coming out of my mouth. And if I could go back and make choices and decisions based off of what I thought and not what other people might think, I feel like I think there'd be a lot of things that would have, the outcome would have been much different than what it is now. Definitely still happy with the outcome, but I could have saved myself a lot of distress, a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety if I would have just maneuvered around this world with my most authentic beliefs and my values rather than someone else's. I spend a majority of my time, probably too much of my time, trying to figure out how to best serve others in this community. I'm very, very grateful and very fortunate to live in a very small community where I know and I have relationships and friendships with people that I work with on a day-to-day basis professionally. In that, unfortunately, I can get really tied up into serving others and how can I do better? How can I serve more people? How can I help more people? Which again is a double-edged sword in the fact that I love what I do. I feel like I do spend a lot of time, maybe too much time, figuring out how I can make our community stronger, make it healthier, create more impact throughout the nonprofits that I am a part of. And in that, I have to do a lot of self-coping techniques and calm myself down by doing things that are healthy coping mechanisms, which include usually spending a lot of time, more time than I always feel like I'm never spending enough time with my two boys. I'm a single mom who balances many hats and works for many nonprofits in the community, and so I've noticed as I've gotten older how much value I've taken for granted with my family life. So I have tried to be much more mindful in just allowing those calm Saturday mornings in my pajamas to happen. I do a lot of reading with my kids. We like to watch movies. We like to go do things. We really like to go to the hot springs. And so connecting with my family is probably one of my biggest coping mechanisms, and how I refill my cup and charge my batteries for the next week to come. Another thing that I do to kind of calm myself down, especially if I'm heated about one thing or another, is zoom out. And what I mean by that is I feel like when I get really stressed, I tend to zoom in on what I feel like is creating the problem in my life. And usually that one thing that I'm zoomed in on has nothing to do with how I'm actually responding and reacting. And so by zooming out, almost kind of like bringing a lens back on a full landscape of what I'm going through and how I'm dealing with it, puts things into perspective in a much more profound way than just being narrow focused on the one thing that has me stressed that day or has me heated that day. And that really helps. I feel like always shifting our perspective, our mindset on really anything that we are experiencing, usually always has a positive effect on how we respond and how we react. I find myself to be most grateful and hold the most gratitude today for the support that I have within my community that I've established. I am not a Livingston native. I grew up floating around from a couple cities and eventually landed here 7 to 8 years ago. And there is some fable out there that you have to have, been born and raised in a community in order to really be established and have the support that you need to thrive in order to walk about a small town. And that was a concern that I had when I moved to Livingston initially, was how am I going to make friends when some of these people have known each other ever since first grade, and I just moved here, being in my late 20s. And that is completely not the case. Livingston is such a welcoming community that I'm very grateful for the amount of support I have. Being a single mom, business owner, nonprofit manager is a lot. And I don't think I could do it without having some of the family that I have here, without having a lot of the very supportive friends that I have here. I 100% believe that community and connection will get someone through anything. Most of my darkest times, most of my hardest moments were because I felt alone. And I haven't felt like that in quite a while, and I'm grateful for that. And it's because of the people that have welcomed me into the community. It's because of the work that I've done, the people that I've served, and the connections I've made through all of that, that I have the most overwhelming support from some of the best people here. That I could not be more grateful and have more gratitude for those people, especially today. What makes me feel happy, what makes me laugh harder. I have always done really hard work. So before moving to Livingston, I was in law enforcement. I've been in the military. I've done work surrounding people in crisis and helping people in crisis. And the only thing that has gotten me through all of that and still gets me to laugh really hard these days is dark humor. Having a sense of humor mixed with a little bit of faith and spirituality that things won't be as bad the next day. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me happy. And that's what makes me laugh harder is some of that dark humor that maybe not everybody understands if you haven't worked in law enforcement or haven't served in the military. I feel like that mindset really has kept me alive these last few years and gets me to laugh harder. The best experience I've had this year. I have been very fortunate to work for a very fun nonprofit. Literally, my full-time job is to create fun things for people to do sober. And I could not be living the dream anymore than I am now. And so one of the best experiences that I've gotten to experience for the first time this year was and is every week I get to go to the Gallatin County Detention Center and lead yoga for inmates, some of which are getting out in a week, some of which will probably never get out and are waiting for their final sentencing. And it's really put a lot of things into perspective. I've worked in domestic violence for 6 to 7 years. I still continue to serve as the weekend advocate for a domestic violence agency. And I always had this mindset, good guys versus bad guys versus good guys. And I was a good guy fighting the bad guys. And now I move and breathe and meditate with the bad guys. And it's put in a lot of perspective. It's made me think a lot about what we do as humans to survive, and how a lot of us will do almost anything to feel like we have control over something, that we are loved and seen by someone. And sometimes the things that we do in order to feel that control and to feel that love hurts others and may be illegal and might put us in jail. And I don't believe in good people and bad people anymore. I just believe in people. And I believe that we can change that. We can change that good versus bad, that good versus evil. But it would take a lot of work in our justice system. It'll take a lot of work in policy change for us to stop feeling like we need to punish, that we need to an eye for an eye each other. I answer crisis line calls on the weekend. Most are women who have been abused by men. And then during the week, I go and practice yoga with those men. And man, if that is not a profound experience, I don't know what is. It's put a lot of stuff in perspective for me. And it's made me just realize that all we all want to be is valued, seen, and heard. Sometimes we just do some bad things to feel that validation. So that's one of the best things that I've gotten to experience in 2022. is being able to practice yoga with the men and women who are incarcerated over in Gallatin County. What makes me feel more alive? I 100% believe that we were put on this earth to serve in one capacity or the other, whether that's to serve Mother Nature or to serve humankind. And that is what makes me feel alive. That's what gets me out of bed every morning, knowing that people rely on me, knowing that I'm making an impact, even if it's a small one in this little city, in this little rural town in Livingston, Montana. I wake up. I wake up every morning because of the work that I do and the people that I serve. That's what keeps me going every day. That's what makes me feel alive. Having people come to a dance class or a yoga class for the first time, telling me that that's the first time that they've really been able to connect with their own bodies for the first time in years. That's what keeps me paying rent for the studio that I manage. People who come to me saying, I almost drank tonight, but instead I came to rock climbing through the Phoenix. That's what keeps me alive. It's those really, really short and if you blink, you miss them moments that people tell you that the work that you're doing is affecting them in one way or the other. That's what makes me feel alive.